what is just a placebo effect, but most people don't realize. I worked at a kid's birthday party place for a couple years in high school. So many kids would cry because they fell over, bumped their arm, etc. Never anything bad. I'd say something like, "Can you shake your foot around? Does it feel better? How about jumping in a circle? Alright, we are going to blow on your hand so it feels better, and then ask if they are ready to play again." Works like a charm. Also bandages for little boo-boos. They think they are healed and get right back to being happy little kiddos. Any band-aids with cartoon characters on them instantly made my students feel better. Your perception of bad luck. The human brain is predisposed to remember bad experiences more vividly than the good ones. Thus, for an example, you may say your luck is always awful at tolls, when in reality you only get stuck in traffic 20% 50% of the time. When I worked train tech support, our agents would always get pushback from customers when we asked them to power cycle their phone, which 9 times out of 10 would fix their issue. So, I had them tell the customer to read them some numbers off the back of the battery when they were still removable that we absolutely did not need. Then we told them we refreshed a few systems and they put their battery back in and it's all fixed. Alternatively, when batteries couldn't be removed, we'd tell them that if the phone was powered on while we did the update, it could ruin their SIM card, so they'd make sure to power off their phone. I'd do nothing. They'd turn it back on, and it worked great. But if I had told them to power cycle their phones, no way. I absolutely love this story because it's so true. Just 2 days ago I told a client to close his web browser and reopen it to fix an issue on our page. He'd complained of it seemingly slow today despite videos from several team members demonstrating it wasn't. He closed and reopened and voila, it was fixed. Actually, he'd had the browser open for months and it was gobbling memory and needed a restart. Sir, when you click on tabs, how many do you see? Oh, it says 99. Yep, that means it stopped counting. Click the damn X button. But those are always the easiest calls with the most grateful people when you fix it for them. So I'm sure this has happened to other people, but this question just reminded me of my principal. During meetings and such he uses the school auditorium, and most of the time I senior now at the school have to run the sound and lights. He's extremely annoying about it, and always asks for his mic to be turned up when in reality, he's already extremely loud and will bust the speakers. I just pretend to turn it up and ask him if it's good, and he speaks and says that's perfect. Thank you. I swear he thinks I'm doing an amazing job and would bring me a Coke or something for dealing with the meetings half of the day. Greatest placebo to use against others that I've done. When you give your young sibling an unconnected controller after she kept bugging to join the game. My husband and I call this playing pretendo. Do commissioned creative stuff. If I deliver same or next day, people don't think I spent enough time on it. If I wait 3 days to deliver, people are happy because they assume I worked on their project non-stop, even though I was done a day or 2 prior. I'm freelance artist and once I painted my client's dog portrait with acrylic. I took photos and sent it to her and she said she wanted to fix some part of it. Like hair was too dark and mouth was a little bit too big. Few hours later I accidentally sent one of the photo I sent to her again. She immediately replied, yes, this is what I want. I haven't touched up anything more but it's okay. This reminds me of a story about a restaurant manager who received a complaint from a regular customer because the restaurant didn't carry Hunt's ketchup and only Heinz. So one day the manager just put Heinz ketchup into a Hunt's bottle for her and she couldn't tell the difference. Edit, I wrote this at 2 AM. Some details are left out. The customer didn't like the taste of Heinz ketchup. The manager did replace the ketchup bottle at first, but ran out of the ketchup. Manager knew customer was coming in and quickly replaced the empty bottom with the restaurant ketchup, which is Heinz. It was from an older Reddit post. Loading spinners on web pages. I once had a user complain to me a web app was too slow, and it was pretty fast. So I tested him by making the animation spinner spin much faster. He went to my boss to praise me how much faster the web app was. Spin.js is what I was using. not even a spinner, but we added a message after loading that said nearly there when it got to the next step, and we got significantly fewer slow loading complaints. I install semi-truck bumpers. 90% of the time a customer will say it looks off by 1/8 of an inch. I'll make a noise with the impact gun on a bolt and say how's that? Yeah, it looks great. Nothing moved whatsoever. Some guys are extremely critical, I guess. My dog's medicine coming out of his treat tin instead of medicine packaging makes a seconds ago disgusting medicine taste mysteriously treat-like. I just tell him to his face that it's a treat when it is clearly a pill covered in peanut butter. Same here. Without the peanut butter, I just go, "You want a treat?" like I normally would, and she comes running and scarfs the pill down. I then of course give her a real treat for being good. The keep my data private button on websites. As a former lifeguard, I can assure you that whatever cleanup you see lifeguards doing after someone vomits in the pool is almost certainly just show. There isn't really anything you can do. You just let the filter chlorine take care of it and pretend to clean to please the suburban moms. I remember some kid shit in the pool and they closed it down for the remainder of the day. Is it different for shit? Or same story? Just come back tomorrow and it'll be clean and do nothing. Aquatics facility operator here. For vomit. Mostly it's just water that comes up because someone decided to drink the pool instead of play in it. We scoop out any chunks and clear the pool for 20 minutes to let the chlorine and other chemicals that are automatically fed into the pool do their job to kill any bacteria. For poop, we have to shock the water with more chlorine to be sure all toxins in the fecal matter is killed. Once we put the shock in the pool, the water has a super high chlorine level. After mere minutes everything is dead. But we have to keep the pool closed for 12 hours, depends on how much shock we had to use. More for runny shits and less for solids, because that much chlorine will irritate skin. I sold Christmas trees as a kid in junior and senior high school. Learned a trick for super fussy customers who had me hold up multiple trees to show them. After the 10th or so tree I'd yell to my co-worker, "Hey Mike, if they don't want this one put it aside for me. Nicest tree I've seen this year." Worked like a charm. When I see salesmen doing this, I always feel they're taking me for a fool. It seems like the oldest trick in the book. I wonder why people are still falling for this. The original Febreze was unscented, but nobody believed it worked, so they added scent to it. You're telling me Febreze isn't just the smell? I thought the odor trapping was the BS part. When my cat wants fresh food, but he still has some in his bowl, I pretend to put more in there. He usually falls for it. Does the bowl have high sides? Eating out of bowls instead of flat plates can sometimes cause issues with their whiskers touching the side and being overstimulated, since they are quite sensitive. Indeed it does. A lot of these psychology tricks and tips you'll see online, just in general, a lot of them have no scientific proof, but they work because everyone thinks they do. This is how I actually live my life. I just tell myself things like these and placebo myself into changing my mindset or mood. Yeah, let's HLD try it works. I'm a big believer in the saying it's easier to act your way into a new way of thinking than it is to think your way into a new way of acting. How long it takes a co-insta to process and count coins and return a receipt. It finishes quickly. So quickly that folks are skeptical of the accuracy. So a fake delay with fake counting noises was built in giving folks more confidence in the results. That's amusing and I absolutely believe it. A lot of scams do this as well. Not virus scams. Those just take a damn long time. But sites that show you the best deals are often done in 100 milliseconds. They are not really doing anything that intensive. Just make a few requests to AutoTrader or whoever, which probably only returns 15 cars, and sort by lowest price. But people wouldn't believe it was the best price if it came back instantly. They wouldn't think it looked hard enough, so they make them wait a little. Definitely, I've used a background check website that goes through a big elaborate series of scanning records progress bar animations. They even divide it into segments, like checking criminal records, checking property records and so on. But here's the thing. They only do all this rigmarole if you search for someone's name on the main site. before you have made an account. After you make an account, the exact same kind of searches are done instantly, reticulating splines. Not sure if it's really placebo, but there is research done on how a car door should sound when you close it. A flat and boring pank sound would do just fine, but a lot of people find that soft, plush and yet firm schrumpf sound reassures them the door is closed. Someone please do a better job here describing car doors closing because mine sucks. My friend's husband is a sound engineer. I don't know if that's the right word for this exact thing. His entire job is making sure that the car stuff sounds right. I swear my car performs better immediately after it's cleaned. This one is true though. If Gran Turismo taught me anything, it's that washing your car can add 5-10 HP. That free shipping is a better deal. It generally means they've added the cost into the product instead, but you feel like you've gotten a better deal. This is 100% true. I used to sell furniture at a no gimmicks kind of place, where they were open about all cost, including delivery. I would do the math for people, show them how we were still saving them tons of money even with delivery. But some people would still walk out and go pay literally hundreds of dollars more for free delivery from Ashley's. Beats headphones have weights inside them to make them heavier and give the illusion of quality and sturdiness. So, if the headphones are too heavy, I should disassemble them and remove the weights. Arguably yes. If they would be more comfortable lighter, you could. When cake mixes first came out you only had to add water to them, but too many housewives felt like that was cheating and wouldn't buy cake mixes. So the cake mix companies added another step, the eggs. It worked. Apparently the cracking and adding of the eggs to the batter was enough to make it feel more homemade and cake mixes became extremely popular. Now I'm mad. I have probably 3 cake mixes in my pantry right now that I keep using up all my eggs before getting to make. If it wasn't for those housewives I would have had cake by now. Unbelievable. I'm not sure if it still does this, but at one time Google Docs intercepted the CTRL's shortcut and briefly changes the cursor to the thinking cursor hourglass. Beach ball. Whatever your computer does, you don't need to save your Google Docs. They save every tiny change on the server, but people are used to doing it. That's like autosave in games. Though, very often I'll manually save, too, just to be sure. In any sort of RPG I always keep 3 saves, in case anything corrupts or is broken. I saw an article about how Apple Music made random selection less random, because people would often complain the same artist would follow after a song, so they made an algorithm to not select a song made by the same artist until after some songs. The exaggerated sounds of some vacuum cleaners, microwaves and cars to make them sound powerful. The loading screens on some apps that make it seem like they are doing something complex. I once spoke to a guy involved in developing the first at the moment cash machines. Early trials showed that users thought that the dispensing of cash happened too fast and didn't trust that it had correctly debited their account for the right amount. So they inserted a wait cycle to make it appear that the machine was counting the cash. That wait cycle is still there today in most machines. Edit woke up to a billion replies telling me that the acronym at the moment contains the word machine. I know this, but I included both at the moment and cash machine for those parts of the world where we don't really use the term at the moment. I still double check after a deposit, so I guess people like me are at fault. A scarecrow in the garden. Your permanent record. Colleges care more about what you say on Twitter and Facebook than what you said to Dakota in 3rd grade. The only time your permanent record means something is if you transfer within the district. Bubbles in cleaning products. Early formulations of soap way back when used to naturally form suds. Newer formulations can clean better, but don't naturally produce suds as the bubbling was an incidental side effect that doesn't actually have any bearing on cleaning. When these newer soaps were first introduced, people complained they didn't work because they didn't make loads of bubbles. So the manufacturers started adding a chemical solely to generate bubbles that didn't actually help with the cleaning at all, and all the complaints stopped. To this day the association of bubbles clean is strong enough that they still do it. Basically all cleaning products, including toothpaste, foam up when used, and almost without exception the foam is 100% marketing. Car doors should close really quietly, but they are designed to close loudly, so you feel safe. It is not uncommon to having a loading screen or icon placed in queries sometimes, just because the average user doesn't expect it to be this quick. Intentional lag on websites when signing up payment processing. Source: I write code sometimes that work. Airport security. Homeland Security's own inspectors were able to get illegal items through TSA checkpoints 70% of the time. Source link. That minty fresh, zesty clean feeling you get from toothpaste. It started as a marketing strategy and caught on. And now almost all toothpaste is mint, because we associate the minty freshness with cleanliness. Editor shucks. Silver. Thanks guys. It's my first. I had no idea so many people hated mint. Milky or opaque white moisturizing body wash. It's the same as the clear ones. It's not more moisturizing. It just has white pigments in it. But because it's not clear, people associate it with lotion and think it's better for the skin. Edit: I'm not saying moisturizing body wash doesn't work, but you shouldn't assume something is more moisturizing just because it's white. A friend of mine who works at a big cosmetics company said the only difference in the formula of their normal and cream cleansers is white pigment, instead of the color check for gentle cleansing agents and ingredients like panthenol or oils. Turkey doesn't have enough tryptophan to make you sleepy. You're most likely sleepy cause you ate too much and your body's in rest and digest mode. Edit: to add, it's a placebo. When you eat a meal that includes turkey and say you're tired, but eat a meal of the same calories and conditions with chicken instead, and you don't feel tired, it's conditioned into American culture because of overeating at American Thanksgiving. Wine prices. They've done studies that show people think wine tastes better if it costs more. But when they do a blind taste test, very few people, even people who are wine drinkers, not everyone. There are some people who can tell, but it's a pretty small percentage, can't distinguish between pretty cheap 15, 20 bottle and expensive wine. Drinking Canada Dry ginger ale helps with an upset tummy. They wear suit because their ginger ale has no ginger in it. And that was the only stuff that helped. When I had the stomach flu as a kid, I got the stomach flu a lot too,